各位朋友，大家早安，欢迎到我们台湾气候联盟世界地球日的特别节目。我是今天的主持人彭启明，台湾气候联盟的秘书长。那各位知道哈，422是世界地球日。那这个地球日呢，是一个有非常久的历史哈，有将近50多年。那其实远自于这个1970年代，从美国一群大学生，还有美国的国会议员发起这个地球日的活动。因为当时呢，1970年代全世界其实都在经济的蓬勃发展当中，也因此破坏了环境哦。所以基本上那时候呢，一群的年轻人发起这样的运动，能够让大家来重视这个环境。所以随后呢，大概美国的环保署、环境保护署就是 EPA 也成立了。那当然啦，这个是一个非常大的一个改革。所以世界地球日呢，其实每年都有一个主题的活动。像今年的主题呢，就是非常的特别，是地球跟塑胶，塑胶啊，因为我们日常生活当中，你可以发现到，我们买菜、买任何的东西，塑胶袋很像随手可得，很像不用钱一样。但是塑胶袋的用量过多，或是塑化品用量过多，已经对我们的环境生态，还有我们每个人的健康造成非常大的影响。所以在今天的世界地球日呢，其实在国际上的世界地球日也提出一个诉求，就是6040。6040什么意思呢？ 在2040年的时候，我们要减少60%的塑胶的产量。60%的塑胶产量，其实这个对我们大家来说是一个非常大的期许哦。所以也希望呢，今天呢，也谢谢各位能够来参加这个活动，因为你来听我们的活动，增加这个对于地球环保的知识，那基本上就是爱护地球的开始。那也希望呢，你今天做一件事，好，今天各位来参加我们的节目，你就是做了一件事情了。但是呢，建议大家还不够，你可以待会呢跟你朋友聊聊世界地球日。感染别人，带动别人，这个也是非常重要哦。那一点一滴的才能够改变这个地球环境。所以，我们今天呢，我们台湾气候联盟的世界地球日呢，我们很特别邀请到一位日本的专家，他其实呢，我觉得他不像是日本人，因为他的英文非常的流利，非常的好，也非常容易懂。那他跟我说，他其实本来就很不像日本人，很像是一个日本的外国人一样。田中深蓝先生，他过去呢是在日本的这个经济部工作等于通产省工作，然后后来呢到 OECD 其实 OECD 我去过，去年我曾担任专家去过，所以其实非常是一个专业的人。然后后来呢就担任 IEA 就是国际能源总署的总裁。那基本上 IEA 是我们看气候变迁里面很重要的一个参考的智库、参考的资料。我们大概很多的思维、能源的方法，或者我们国家的净零目标，都是参考 IEA 的。那到底呢，它未来的发展，尤其是说在俄乌战争之下，全球的能源价格飙涨，我们在台湾该怎么办？我们如何看待这个美国的降低通膨法案，还有日本的绿色成长，甚至欧盟的净零的工业法案，或是绿色新政，这个其实对我们影响都相当的大。那他是一位非常这个有远见的科学家，所以我也希望他能够带给我们台湾的朋友一起来关心这个话题哦。那各位也知道，我上礼拜被接受卓荣泰院长的邀请，我将在520后担任我们环境部的部长。那这是我非常的荣幸。当然，我了解之后，其实这是一个非常艰巨的任务。所以今天呢，我跟大家一样，一起来学习这个未来我们的能源政策、气候变迁政策，也希望今天的这个讨论能够让大家有一些增长哦。所以也希望大家分享出去，让更多的朋友可以知道这样的一个话题。因为这个话题呢，不像是我们现在看到所有媒体的话题，其实还有更深的意涵在里面。唯有我们大家有共识，才能够做得到哈。那共识呢，不是说我说我的，你就要听我的，而是说我们大家一起把我看到的、知道的摊开来。有可能呢，我只有一个层面，也可能你只有一个面向。我们一起呢，把这个面向拉得更大，我们彼此共同同意，我们才能够往下走哦。这是我的基本态度。所以我今天也是来学习的，也希望未来呢，各位有任何的意见，我可以保持各种的畅通的管道，也希望让大家一起来互动。所以我们今天的世界地球日呢，我们一开始之前，我们是不是把我们线上的所有的朋友，我们来一个大合照？大合照，请大家开启你的 camera， 我们来一个简单的大合照，因为这是我们台湾气候联盟，我们每一个月大概有1到2次的这个圆桌会议，请各位开启你的 camera， 我们一起来做一个大合照我们每次都有这个圆桌会议，因为我们都是科技业非常的多，所以大家开这个线上的会议，我们已经变成一个习惯了。那我们大概办了大概40-50场的会议，从这个政府的、国外的都有参加，非常的多，也谢谢大家的参与好，我们来请大家开启。哇，我们也谢谢我们的环境部的。我们的叶俊宏叶正次能够来响应我们的气候会议那我也期待他是未来我的一个好伙伴，一起来面对这个气候变迁。这个其实气候变迁会议呢，像气候变迁这个议题是未来净零是一个很重要的目标所以也更多人参与。好，不知道开好了没？请大家开启一个荧幕，我们共同来参与。这个是非常有意义的世界地球日的活动好，请我们秘书处来参与。哇，好多朋友来参与了这个议题都是大家非常关心的一个话题田中先生 ，Hello, you can say hello to everybody.
Hi, good morning.
Okay.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
OK. 好了没？我们大家比个微笑我们先一个平面的照片来，1、2、3。那我们来比一个 C 好不好 ？You know the C?
Yeah.
Yeah, C. Yeah, C. OK, 1, 2, 3. OK， 好，谢谢。那 OK， 我们今天呢会将以英文来进行哦，所以也请大家可以忍受一下。但是最后如果需要我一些翻译的话，我也会来进行哦。OK， 现在开始用英文来进行。那 Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce very clear is Nobuo Tanaka-san.
Hi.
Yeah. Actually, he's a well-known professor and also the IEA, the exclusive director of the IEA. It's very important. And he knows a lot of the international global affairs, especially about the energy and the climate change. So the topic he will talk today is I give it to you because I want to know the United States, the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, and they have lots of investment about the climate change, and also the European Union Green Deal and their Net Zero Industry Act, and also the Japan, the GX Green Transformation. Just I know our President Chinder Lai, and he also announced in his policy books. Write down the green growth, just very similar to Japan green transformation now. Maybe later on you can give us some very wonderful talk, and later on we will have a panel discussion. And if you have any kind of question, you can use our Slido to submit your question. And however, time is very limited. Please, I will pick up some of the very important questions to ask him. Okay. Tanaka-san, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Penn, and I'm very much honored to be invited to this framework and a special version on the Earth Day. So this is a very interesting time to discuss about energy security as well as climate change and mitigation. And many countries have already announced carbon neutral by 2050. China 2060, India 2070. So this is a global trend to reach the net zero in some time. But can we really do that? And who could be the winners? Who could be the losers? That is my subject today. Let me go to the slides.
Okay, please. Slide change, please.
I try to do.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Is it okay? Okay.
Yeah. This is the oil price since 1974, and it moves up and down. It's always very volatile. IEA, International Energy Agency, was created in 1973 to 74 oil shock. The Arab embargo of oil made a price of oil quadrupled in a very short time. So all countries are in panic. How to achieve the energy security and price and avoid inflation. So this panic caused a huge disturbance in the global economy. And it happens in the Iranian revolution. The price went further up. So then the countries tried their very hard energy efficiency, conservation, so price went down. But again, it is moving up. So IEA was created in case of emergency using the strategic stockpile of petroleum and release it to the market and to quieten the prices. IEA used 5 times in the history of this release. First, Gulf War in 1991. Second, in Hurricane Katrina in the Gulf of Mexico in 2005. In 2011, when I was executive director, we released for the Libyan crisis. And then most recently, many of you know that the Ukraine invasion of Russia certainly made a huge increase of oil prices. So IEA released twice, the biggest one. But the current situation, Dr. Fatih Birol, he is the current executive director. My successor says that we are in the middle of the first truly global energy crisis. It's not oil crisis. It's a gas crisis. It's a coal crisis, electricity crisis. All the prices are moving up and creating the huge problem of the global economy. But IEA also made a very much shocking impact to the oil producers the other way around. I call it the IEA shock. In 2050, net zero is the publication of IEA in 2021, and this made the oil-producing country or oil-producing companies are under the strong pressure. because as you see this chart, the peak demand of fossil fuels are already be there or coming very, very soon. Oil could have been already peaked in 2019, so we don't need any new investments to the oil or gas. This creating the shock to the producers. So IEA was criticized heavily. Another very interesting development after this report is that the Russian President Putin may think that peak oil or peak gas could come much earlier than he expected. So he moved earlier to invade Ukraine, because when the peak demand of oil and gas happens, the revenue of Russia will certainly deteriorate. Before or being in such a situation, it's better to make the price higher and invade. So this crisis in climate and crisis in energy are very, very well interlinked. So we have to solve both of them at the same time. Europe and Russia is another energy war. The Russia invasion made Europe very aware the huge risk of Russian supply and moved away from Russian pipeline. Still they are importing. Europe is importing LNG, liquefied natural gas, but try to stop the importation of Russian gas by renewable energy and some countries nuclear power. So by using indigenous sources of clean indigenous sources is the key for sustainability and energy security. How can we do that? And what are the winners and losers? In this dual crisis of energy and climate, there are losers and winners. Russia definitely be a loser. Lost revenue, loss of technology, investment from the West is stopped, brain drain is happening. While European Union could be winner because of their strong leadership to the more green energy sources, as well as sometimes nuclear, and CBAM. CBAM is carbon border adjustment measures and enforce other countries to share the burden of transformation by levying the tariff in case of necessity. United States is definitely the winner because their shale gas production are exported to Europe with very high prices, and Inflation Reduction Act by the Biden administration attracts lots of investment for CCS, electric vehicle, hydrogen. So US is definitely the winner in this game. How about China, India? Yes, China and India gains by importing cheap Russian gas or oil. And also in the future, they try to use as much renewable energy as possible and try to be a renewable energy superpower. How this strategy works, we have to still wait and see. Saudi Arabia is under the pressure. Currently, the very high oil prices help them to get the revenue, but in the future, if peak demand of oil or gas happens, how could they convert their energy system to more renewable or more sustainable one? Maybe by using the technology like CCS, carbon capture and storage, and make their fossil fuels to the clean hydrogen. We call it blue hydrogen, or using renewable energy or solar power is so rich in Saudi Arabia, so they can use this generated electricity to produce green hydrogen. So if Saudi Arabia is clever enough to invest their revenue to these technologies, yeah, Saudi Arabia could be a winner. Japan, Korea, maybe Taiwan is definitely in this category, suffers very high gas prices and the relationship with Russia. But if these countries are more, let's say, ready to invest in a sustainable nuclear power or clean hydrogen supply, maybe we can still continue to be a winner. ASEAN countries, the same thing. Another winner is the mega tech firms like Apple or GAFA. These companies are requesting net zero for whole supply chain of these companies. So, for example, Japanese Sony, if they want to sell their sensors to Apple, they have to produce with renewable energy 100% by 2030, just as Apple requested. So these megatech firms request any vendors in the world to do the same. So this is really a challenge for any company to do the same. TSMC invests in Japan and building the big semiconductor company in Kyushu. Why Kyushu? Because Kyushu is rich in the solar power. Its rival Rapidus is investing in Hokkaido because Hokkaido is very rich in the wind mills. So this choice of companies are now locating toward the renewable rich places. The Mercedes-Benz, the auto sector is moving toward the same way. So there are many vendors or supply chain in car companies. So this drive by the demand side will definitely enforce the change in any country. There is no exception. Financial sector is pushing this by ESG, investment, ecology, societal, and governance related investment is now everywhere. Apple's case, 28 Japanese companies signed up to be renewable energy 100% for 2030. This chart is the oil and gas dependency of different countries. Vertical axis is gas dependence, import dependency. Horizontal axis is oil import dependency. The blue part is both importer of oil and gas. Green is both exporter of oil and gas. Japan, Korea is in the right top part because these two countries are just full importer of oil and gas. So we are there and in the future same. So China imports about 60% of oil and 40% of gas, but in the future, 80% of oil and 50% of gas. So energy dependency is making China fragile. The India is worse situation. On the other hand, the United States moving in different way, different direction. U.S. is already the exporter of gas and the exporter of oil very soon. So they United States to green and U.S. is definitely achieving energy independence. So how could China, India, Europe, or Japan, Korea can make the difference? By the renewable energy sources and by the nuclear power. So this is a key element of how these countries try to be energy independent. This picture is taken by me and Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger is a founding father of the IEA. When I was elected to the executive director of the IEA, he urged me, Mr. Tanaka, you should get China and India to join the IEA. To join the IEA, it is necessary first to be the OECD member. But anyway, to make the IEA a relevant energy security place, we need to get India and China because they will be the bigger importer of oil in the future, very near future. This chart shows it will exceed the importation to the whole OECD countries very soon. But not only that, Henry Kissinger also told me that if IEA wants to be the relevant institution for decarbonization, you also need India, China, because they are the bigger and biggest emitter of the carbon dioxide. Japan tried very hard to use hydrogen. We call for the hydrogen economy when the Toyota set up the Mirai, the hydrogen fuel cell car. But our performance on this hydrogen fuel cell car is not that nice, because we need lots of refueling station, but refueling station means you need more cars. So this a catch-22 or chicken and egg situation delay the development of hydrogen economy in Japan. It's a lost ticket. We are overtaken by China, we are overtaken by Korea, and also European Union, as well as United States. We no longer the leader of the hydrogen economy. But when Prime Minister Suga announced net zero by 2050 in 2020, many think that we have to change our industrial policy for carbon neutrality and set up a 14 priority industrial policies for the future. And hydrogen, this red dotted place is the hydrogen-related activities. So hydrogen is a key element for Japan's decarbonization. Also, Japan is trying to introducing carbon price. Emission trading with carbon surcharge. So it's a kind of European way as well as carbon tax. It is recently announced voluntary emission trading is starting. Soon the surcharge will happen. And IEA says that if we are really achieve net zero by 2050, the price or carbon tax or carbon price level should be as high as $205 in 2030 and $250 per ton by 2050. Can we really make this kind of big burden to the economy? This is a real challenge. Among the fossil fuels, gas was a winner because it's cleaner and it is available in the shale gas revolution, makes it very successful. So IEA announced golden age of natural gas is coming in 2011. But now IEA is saying golden age of natural gas is closing because Chinese demand is not increasing as expected, and net zero or activities is happening in every country. So this is a likely scenario of the world energy outlook of the IEA, and it says that, well, even for oil and even for natural gas, the peak demand will happen very soon, within this decade. Toward the end of 2020s, it would happen. But this creates another huge criticism from oil producer or natural gas producer. Still, we need natural gas because decline is very, very slow. So we still need investment to the natural gas and oil. But market is moving toward more decarbonized way. Can we really have enough investment to the natural gas and avoid the volatility of the prices? This is a real challenge for the IEA and for everybody. This chart shows hydrogen projects is really running up after Russian invasion and also Inflation Reduction Action or Act of the United States. Japan started liquefied natural gas from Alaska 50 years ago. Liquefied natural gas is very costly, but Japan started doing it, and after 50 years, it is commoditized. Now, golden age of gas is closing, but golden age of liquefied natural gas will still continue for the time being. Can we really build the hydrogen golden age? This is a real question. Japan has 3 technologies, liquefied hydrogen, MCH, and ammonia. These are the 3 ways of storage and transportation. We will see if these technologies can make the global supply chain of hydrogen. This is the current percentage of the energy trade. Oil is 66%. The likely scenario, oil still continue to play a very important role. But if net zero happens, oil will be diminished about 11% of the global energy trade, while critical minerals and hydrogen are going to be a very important one. So we have to think now about the future of the energy security measures is not oil storage or oil special reserves, but we have to think about the critical mineral reserves or hydrogen reserves if possible. Green technology supply chain is now concentrated in the major top 3 suppliers, like mining. It is famous that cobalt is occupied by Congo. Processing, critical mineral processing, material production, and technology manufacturing. So these are really occupied by the 3 major players in the world. But this is China. So China is definitely a critical player in the many parts of clean energy supply chain. And that's the China's policy to be the renewable energy superpower. Can this decoupling by the United States or de-risking of Europe to China may impact to this? Well, this is a very interesting question. We don't know the answer yet. If the cost of hydrogen is compared, Japanese cost of hydrogen by green sources like renewables is very high. If the steel mills using this hydrogen for their steel building, Japan's cost of steel could be much, much higher. Can Japan be still competitive steel maker in the future, depending on this decarbonization? This is a real challenge for Japan. Japanese steel mills may think that it is better to move out of Japan to invest somewhere else where the renewable is very cheap. Hydrogen could be very cheap with very cheap CCS process. So this the future industrial competitiveness depends on not only energy supply, but renewable supply availability. This and IEA's report says that relocation of industry will happen to such potential renewables as well as hydrogen, low carbon hydrogen or CCS. This is, as I said, semiconductor industries, it is happening. Data center is also happening because future is electrified with renewable. Sustainable electricity is necessary. This, even in the AI and the data centers are using a huge amount of electricity. And within the 3 years, toward 2023, the amount of the demand would be double or triple even. And for some countries, this is going to be a serious issue. Ireland attracts lots of data centers, but about 30% of its electricity is going to be used for these centers. How can Ireland continue to supply enough renewables for these companies? This is a challenge. Europe is also trying to use hydrogen pipeline. Europe is very well connected by the grid line, so even different portfolio of electricity sources. France is nuclear. Germany is more renewables. Norway has lots of hydropower. So combining these by the power grid, it is the way to use more renewables as well as to maintain the energy security. IEA proposed several of the ideas to the COP28 in Abu Dhabi. Renewables should be tripled by 2030. Energy efficiency should be doubled. Fossil fuel demand should be reduced a quarter. And methane emissions should be reduced 75% by 2030. So these are the really challenging targets, but COP28 accepted some of these numbers, and we consider it is a great success. But we cannot be complacent because these commitments only mean a quarter of the necessary reduction toward 2050 net zero. So we cannot never be complacent. How can we use nuclear power? Nuclear is now more and more considered as a renewable, as a green or clean energy source to reduce CO2 emission. in many countries. Of course, different country has different policy on nuclear. But it is getting the case that nuclear should be considered as a sustainable policy player. Europe's taxonomy make nuclear as a sustainable investment target under certain condition, like it should have a clear waste disposal management. Japan has about 40 possible reactors to start, but only 12 are now restarted after Fukushima. We had made a big mistake in the Fukushima nuclear accident. Prime Minister Kishida announced to restart 17 of them by 2023, but only 12 are now operating. The cost of nuclear reactors is always under the discussion. IEA's analysis tells us that operating nuclear power plant, the cost is very cheap, but building the new plant is very costly. So using as much as possible the operating nuclear power plant is making sense, while extending the life of the operating nuclear power plant as long as possible. Japan's law prohibits more than 40 years, but some of them are allowed to expand to 60 years. United States allowed some of the reactors to stay until 80 years. So this kind of prolongation of the life is a way to reduce the cost of nuclear power plant, and it contributes to the economic competitiveness of the country. I think this is a very good, important lesson to Taiwan too. Nuclear capacity under the net zero scenario should be double by the IEA, mainly in China, but in I would say emerging economy. COP28, it is said that it should be triple. This is a really difficult challenge, but at least the use of nuclear power is now considered even in the COP28 that necessary for the sustainable future. This data is from NEA. This is the OECD organization, and they consider if the proper conditions match, triple is not impossible. But IEA's would say, how really can the transformation energy happen? This is Václav Smil's very interesting chart that coal is increasing its share of the global energy to 50% within 60 years. Oil went to as high as 40% in 60 years. And natural gas, 25%. That means transformation of energy system takes longer and longer years, but slower and getting slower and slower. This green line trajectory of the modern renewables is the trajectory which I put from the IEA's Net Zero 2050. Can we really revitalize the speed of transformation of the renewable as such? So Václav Smil think that this is a very, very difficult, if not impossible. The nuclear is the right-hand side. So nuclear capacity increased to the 5% at some time, but it never went up as high as 10%. IEA says double. This is the green line. But this does, so nuclear, unfortunately, under the current paradigm, is not really the mainstream of the energy transformation. I discuss what is the condition then the nuclear be sustainable or sustainable part of the portfolio. We say SMR, small modular reactor with passive safety, radioactive waste disposal, proliferation resistance. There are many countries tempting to have a nuclear weapon. So how to avoid the weaponization of the nuclear technology is another condition for the sustainability. So I discuss ICEF is Innovation for Plus, which I'm the chair in Tokyo, discuss it. Also, Canon Institute, which I'm the chair of some working group, announced that this is only consists of only women who are aware of the issues, and some nuclear engineer, financial sector, or journalists, and they discuss what the future of the nuclear power. And these ladies think, just as I said, we have to minimize the risk of accident by small modular reactors, and also realistic method of high-level radioactive waste management and nuclear proliferation risk minimization. United States is also promoting this idea of flexible nuclear power by small reactors. These are the example of small modular reactors. I don't get into much details, but there are interesting models for this sustainable nuclear power. This is Idaho National Laboratory's so-called integral fast reactor. This reactor is the fast reactor using plutonium from the spent film, but this process prevents the pure plutonium be processed out. And also, it's a closed system, so terrorists cannot easily seize the plutonium for bomb. So, in fact, this technology is considered very, very proliferation resistant. Also, it proved safety, passive safety. In the experiment of 1986, just like the Fukushima accident, they made a loss of flow, means plant scale blackout test, and the temperature of the reactor automatically came down without human intervention. So this proved it is the safe, passive safe reactor. Also, the waste from this reactor system is much shorter. 300 years, the waste will be the level of natural uranium ore. If the current light water reactor technology use, it may take 100,000 years. 300 years is long, but 100,000 years is very, very long to associate with. So Japan is trying to find nuclear waste disposal site, but it is very difficult for local governments to accept this. But if it is 300-year thing, it may not be impossible. I tried to use this technology to take care of the meltdown debris of Fukushima, and it could cost about $2 billion US. If that's the case, this technology is a solution for the Fukushima disaster. Another difficulty of the current geopolitics is a nuclear weapon. This is a picture taken at the Chancellery of Germany with the Chancellor Merkel, and we discuss about the future of the energy with industrial leaders of Germany. I asked Madame Merkel, why you are not using nuclear power in Germany? She said, Mr. Tanaka, I'm a scientist. I know nuclear very well. I know how important it is. But to do it in Germany, we need votes. So she's maybe she may be a good scientist, but she's much better politician. So she has 16 years in the office, but she caused a huge geopolitical crisis with Russia because of giving up nuclear power in a way. Obama, this is a G8 summit in L'Aquila in Italy. I don't get into too much, but the Libya was invited here, and Obama's recommendation to do more corruption, anti-corruption movement, lead Gaddafi to do the removal of corruption. But also he did stop the nuclear weapon development program. He also called up Kim Jong-il not to do the weapon, but North Korea didn't listen. But after this summit with shake hand of Obama and Gaddafi, the United States invaded in Libya, and Libyan crisis happens, and Gaddafi was killed in the middle. So this sent a strong lesson to Kim Jong-un of North Korea that to have the weapon is the only way to protect him from the invasion from anybody else. President Trump made a huge mistake of shaking hands with Kim Jong-un, but at the same time penalized Iran of getting out of the Iranian nuclear contract, because Iran didn't have weapon, while North Korea has a weapon. So to have the weapon is the best way to get the impact of US or Russia or whoever. So, and the things getting worse after Putin threatening Ukraine of possible use of nuclear. If Ukraine did not return the nuclear weapon to Russia after the collapse of Soviet Union, maybe Russia didn't invade Ukraine. So this is strengthening the non-weapon states to have the weapon, unfortunately. So this threat for the nuclear war is imminent. Yes, of course, climate change is important, but nuclear war is really the enemy for us in the Earth Day. Chinese president may try to do something with Taiwan. Everybody is very much concerned about geopolitics. Israel minister renews call for striking Gaza with nuclear bombs. Israel could be the first country may use weapon after US against Japan, because Israel will do anything to protect its country. Kim Jong-un is preparing for war, who knows? I am proposing that Japan, US, and Korea announced new geopolitics last year in Camp David. So we have to do the nuclear a part of it. This developing integral fast reactor is one. Developing nuclear propulsion submarine is the second one. Just like AUKUS. AUKUS is developing nuclear submarine for Australia with US and UK. Why not develop nuclear propulsion submarine for Northeast Asia by Japan, Korea, and the United States? Geopolitics. Also, we may propose to reduce nuclear plutonium and high enriched uranium of North Korea by Japan and the US, Japan and Korea. Japan can buy plutonium of 40 kilograms in the weapon of North Korea and use it in our nuclear power plant and just diminish it. So this kind of offer will never be accepted by Kim Jong-un, I'm sure, but at least we have to say we are ready to reduce the weapon by our nuclear power. This is the very extreme, ultimate way of peaceful use of our nuclear power plant. Many countries signed up in this treaty of prohibition of nuclear weapons. Many Asian countries, especially other signatories. I am promoting the idea of Japan and South Korea should sign up in this to show that we are committed to the peaceful use, not the weapon, but the peaceful use of the nuclear power. In India, in the conference I was invited, I asked Indian government to do the same, because India is trying to be the leader of global South, to be different from China. The best way is to get rid of their nuclear weapon and ask to be the member of permanent seat of UN Security Council with Japan. United Nations Security Council is only monopolized by, the permanent seat is only monopolized by weapon states. It's not fair to reduce the number of countries who wants to have the weapon. You have to treat these non-weapon states much more in a significant way in the UN diplomacy. Japan and India deserves, if India give up the weapon, to be nominated to the permanent seat holder. So this kind of innovation is diplomacy, or nuclear diplomacy is necessary for the future. Nuclear is very important. This is the famous quote of Takashi Nagai. He is a victim of Nagasaki weapon, Nagasaki atomic bomb. He said, we can change this the devil into the fortune by using the nuclear power for the civilization economic growth. So this is the really strong word about the peaceful use for the nuclear. Beyond current nuclear power, there comes the fusion. Fusion is different from fission, so it doesn't have any waste. It doesn't have the potential risk of weaponization. So fusion may be the solution, but I don't know. There are many venture capitals, venture business is investing into the fusion. So if one of them succeed, it is the revolution. So this is a new focus. We have to watch carefully. The United States is now serious about this fusion technology. Not a big one in the Kadarash ITER, but small commercial fusion projects everywhere in the US universities. Yuval Noah Harari, he is the author of *Sapiens*, said that there are 3 challenges for the human beings of the 21st century. They are first, nuclear war, the second, ecological challenges, and the third, technological destruction by AI or algorithm. These are the very global issues. So the current nationalism or populism cannot solve. So how can this be addressed? He calls for the political leaders with global identity. They are the only hope for changing the current paradigm and solve these challenges, including nuclear, including the decarbonization. Mr. Abe, the prime minister, former prime minister of Japan, was killed in a terrorist attack. We took picture with ISEF, Innovation Plus Forum members in 2019. He is the very unique Japanese politician with a global identity. We miss him a lot in the current juncture. Oppenheimer, I think you have seen the movie, The Risk of Nuclear Weapon. Yes. I met his grandson in Singapore, so I took a picture, and he said the same thing. Scientists may speak out for the risk of nuclear weapon and the nuclear war. I cannot agree more. And this is my nuclear message, excuse me. It is designed by my daughter Saki, and she made a picture like birds work together to make happy new year or prosperous year of dragon. Why not humans can do better than birds? That is my last message. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, thank you, Tanaka-san. Yeah, very wonderful talk. You have a very broad view about from the climate, energy, and nuclear weapon. Interesting. Very wonderful talk. In the beginning, I will have some idea to share with you, and I have 1 month later, I will be the Minister of Environment.
Congratulations.
No, it's a very tough job.
Condolences.
For example, right now, everybody asks me, Dr. Beng, about the carbon fee. What's your opinion? And I told to everybody I should study because before last Friday, I'm open to the public because I'm from the NGO and also the Taiwan Climate Partnership. I have my idea about the carbon fee. But right now, because my role had already changed, so I should respect our future team. I will work with them and I will maybe have a deep discussion with them in the future in just 1 month. And after May 20, I will talk to everybody in public. And but what I found right now is in Taiwan and from not right now, but before that, always there were confliction between the economy development, money, and the environment. For example, if we want to have a carbon fee, how much is it? Raise the price as a European level. The industry say, I close my company. So it will become a kind of the economy inflection everywhere. So I'm wondering, you are the executive director of the IEA before, and you look at so many countries. What's the best way? Because everywhere, every time, when we want to do something, economy energy and environmental protection, net zero, always have lots of gap here.
Yeah, Dr. Penn, this is a very, very interesting and important question. In fact, the carbon tax or carbon price has long been the discussion point for the climate change mitigation diplomacy. Everybody knows this is the way to reduce carbon dioxide emission. Carbon tax means carbon tax, there are two ways. One is carbon tax. Another one is emission trading system, like EU ETS. EU ETS can fix the amount of carbon emission reduction, while carbon tax cannot define the level of emission reduction, but the price level will be very explicitly stable. So if the choice of carbon pricing, either emission trading or carbon prices, one is predictability, and for the predictability's sake, carbon tax is better. Of course, carbon tax is very, very political, and which level you have to set is a question. IEA's calculation, as I told you, is that in reach net zero by 2050, the level for the developed economy is that in 2030, it should be $200 per ton. And in 2050, it should be $250 per ton. That is kind of answer from the model, economic model. If you reach net zero, this is a necessary level. Of course, this is a huge burden for the economy or industry to compete. So, if the global community agree this is a necessary step, and if all the countries put the same level of carbon tax, yeah, it is same for everybody. So, for the competition level for sake, it should be neutral. But also you can make kind of revenue neutral by taxation, because if you charge carbon tax, the revenue should be used for decarbonization, right? So, but also at the same time, to reduce the burden of the taxpayers or industries, just reduce these tax. Income tax or corporate tax reduction to the same amount of increase of carbon tax will nullify the impact of tax. So this revenue neutrality is one way to reduce the burden to the industry. But Japan is doing very interesting way. GX transformation fund or bond is going to be issued.
Climate bond.
A climate bond is going to be issued. It's starting issue. It is 20 trillion yen. But this 20 trillion yen bond is going to be repaid by the future income or future revenue by carbon tax. So they calculate the future value of these tax and make it a 20 trillion yen as a bond at this moment and use it to invest to the companies who are trying to decarbonize by investing in the different sources like hydrogen, CCS, or steel making, etc. So this is a way of using the financial tools of making the monetizing the future revenue of the carbon tax into the government support measure. So there are many different ways, different countries do the different thing, but I think carbon tax, carbon pricing, either by ETS or carbon tax, is necessary to give the incentives for the industry to decarbonize. Without clear, let's say, message, I think industry will not move. So the price, carbon tax or carbon price level should be as high as the global standard. Current European standard is about $100, but we have to be, government should make it clear that the future, what will be the future of the carbon price? And if you said that very right, stable message and certainty for the investment decision, I think industry can do it toward 2030 or 2050. They must be given enough time to prepare. I agree. But if you give certain measures as well as predictability of the future, I think industry will react positively.
Yeah, by my point of view, because for example, I know the ICT industry very much because they are international company. They, for example, Taiwan Climate Partnership, most of the members are very active about this. And the carbon fee for them is very common because they have an interior carbon fee already. So even the carbon fee right now is not a big problem for them. But for some traditional industries, we should take about, for example, steel industry, fossil fuel industry. There were lots of the emission gap around them, and for them to reduce the carbon emission is also very difficult. So right now, it's a tough job. And everybody ask me, how much money you need to carbon fee, you should make decision. But it's not my job now. It's May 20, so I should respect my team. And however, there were lots of the issue here. Confliction.
Yes, definitely, because companies do not like to be taxed.
Yes.
The burden. But you said ICT companies are much more competitive. And they are less energy intensive. Electricity they need. But if the clean electricity is supplied properly, they can go. And also they are using internal carbon pricing. Right? They are experiencing how this price may work for the investment. Of course, harder to abate sector like cement, steel, or petrochemicals. They really suffer. They were against in Japan too.
In Japan too.
They are really against of carbon pricing. But when Prime Minister Suga announced decarbonization or carbon neutral by 2050, even they were against, but all other advanced economies, ITCs, electronics, autos, they support. So finally, these hard to abate sectors get quieter. Still, they have to try their best to move toward decarbonization, but the political announcement and very strong commitment globally by the Prime Minister Suga forces these sectors to do the same in the end. METI, as a former METI official, I was really surprised to see Prime Minister Suga announce net zero by 2050. And I think METI officials did surprise too. But industry's reaction was much, much more positive than we thought. So I think politicians, you have the courage to move for the innovation and do the change. If you don't do that, nobody will do.
It's my job.
Minister Penn, it's a job to make a difference and to make a change. Good luck for you, by the way.
Actually, last Thursday, I have a meeting with my premier in the future, and he strongly support me about the idea. For example, I told him about the GX, green growth. Japanese, because TCP, because my background is from Taiwan Climate Partnership, and we had already 4 years. In the beginning, we all very well known with the JCLP, Japan Climate Leader Partnership. They were a big company there, and we know each other. And then also, I always focus on the Japanese energy and also climate change policy. From the green growth, GX, very clear money. The government should have a very strong ambition about strong climate governance. Climate governance, later on, we should have the funding. The funding is very important. Not only the carbon fee, carbon tax. You should have the budget resources to trigger the private sector investment. So the ambition of the government is very important. So I told my premier, probably we should make a change about that in the future. I think I will try to do this, because I told my premier, I hope I can be our government's chief sustainable officer, just like every CSO in each company. So it's a tough job, but I should do this.
Good luck, and I really support you.
Thank you very much. And I have another question, because you told some something issues about the nuclear.
Okay.
And I don't know, the nuclear policy here in Taiwan is very complicated. And
it's complicated in every country.
Everywhere. Right?
Same thing. Nuclear is very difficult.
Yeah.
Politicized.
In Taiwan, if I ask you, oh, do you support the energy? When we talk about energy, I can know what's your party, green or blue or white. It's very interesting.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Is it in Japan? Is that same?
No, yeah, I think in Japan there is no Green Party.
Okay.
To my surprise, but there's no Green Party.
Okay.
But Liberal Democratic Party, Conservative Party is in favor of nuclear, while opposition is, some of them are pro-nuclear, but most of them are anti-nuclear.
Yeah. But the problem right now, because everybody care about the net zero or climate change policy, but not very limited about the real climate or energy things. I think the education about energy or climate change is very, very important here. And but everybody think the nuclear should be the future. But you also mentioned about the nuclear in the EU taxonomy.
Right.
They think it's a sustainable investment.
Right.
And there were some criteria about this. But that means the energy is the nuclear energy is the green energy. There were different definitions about this.
Correct.
So I'm wondering what's about the future, because SMR, small modular reactor, I think it will be the future. But just I know it should be commercialized maybe several years later. We don't know the future.
Yeah.
Nuclear fusion technology, and in just COP28, our pavilion in COP28 just close to the fusion industry.
Okay.
And I have a very deeply conversation with them, but they say, Dr. Peng, it should be 10 years later.
Okay.
Not the energy we can use right now. So I don't know how can we move forward, because right now all of the energy issues. It's a kind of transition issue.
Yeah.
But everybody think, oh, it's a nuclear, but actually it's not. How can we have a better explanation to the public about it?
Sure. Yeah, well, I think nuclear has trauma. The first trauma is Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the weapon. How can we avoid the weapon? I mean, nuclear weapon and nuclear power generation is different process. But it is always confused in the public's mind. Nuclear is dangerous. Nuclear is the war. So, but no, nuclear fission power generation and nuclear fission bomb is a totally different technology. So you have to clearly explain and understand they are different things. The second trauma is the Fukushima accident. There are in the current nuclear industry, TMC, 3 Mile Island, TMI, 3 Mile Island accident in the United States, and then comes the Chernobyl accident in Ukraine, and then Fukushima. So from time to time, nuclear power plant caused huge accident, unfortunately. So human technology always has some mistake. It's avoidable. It's not avoidable. So, but technology make it as safe as possible, and to minimize the risk, even though the accident happens, you can contain the impact within the plant itself. If you can contain the risk within the plant, you cannot suffer the surrounding population. And if the regulators think this is the proper way for the safety requirements, maybe the public can think that nuclear is all right. Because chemical plant is the same thing. The chemical plant, if explosion happens, it's huge, let's say, casualty may happen. But under the safety regulation, they are protected. So sometimes accident may happen, but it is controllable. So nuclear should be treated like that. So by doing so, I think nuclear technology can be more acceptable. You mentioned about the European Union's taxonomy for the sustainable investment. Nuclear is one of them. But there are some conditions. Nuclear should be safe, passive safe. And second is radioactive waste. So nuclear fission create radioactive waste, so it should be disposed somewhere. So the country who wants to do the nuclear should have a clear plan of disposal. That is another condition of the European Union. So that's the reason why I mentioned in my, I would say, PowerPoint, that there are three issues or three conditions that nuclear be sustainable. They are, one is minimizing the risk or minimizing the impact of accident by small modular reactor, possibly. The second is the high-level radioactive waste disposal without clear technology. Some technology make it much shorter time of half year, 300 years. 300 years is long, but it's much better than 100 or 300,000 years. So you can, I think in Taiwan, you have lots of fuel, spent fuels. You have to take care of them somehow, dispose it. But if you dispose spent fuel, you have to have the geological disposal site for 300,000 years. But if you have the technology like which I mentioned, maybe 300 years. So waste disposal is much easier with new technology of this kind. So, and thirdly, how to avoid to make the weapon. So Saudi Arabia wants to have a nuclear power because they may use it for the weapon, because Iran may have a weapon. Israel has already the weapon. Iran may have the weapon. Saudi may have a weapon. Then Turkey wants a weapon, Egypt. So this proliferation will very easily happen if country is threatening by nuclear, which I mentioned. So how to make the technology this proliferation resistant? There are some technologies which is difficult to get the pure plutonium, or no need for enrichment of the uranium. By doing so, you can minimize the risk of weaponization. So pick up the technology or investment like that. That is my argument. And make this kind of new narrative or story of nuclear for the public. And my diplomacy about this non-weapon state should be accepted as a permanent seat holder of the UN Security Council. This is a kind of innovative approach of diplomacy, of avoiding the war. So this kind of whole set or grand design of the nuclear should be established and presented to the public. Without this kind of new narrative or new story, Japanese public may not support the future nuclear power, even though governments wants to restart it as soon as possible, urging Tokyo Electric to do that in Niigata Prefecture, but the governor is very cautious. So this political process should be supported, not just asking to restart the nuclear power, but providing what the sustainable future vision of the nuclear industry. Without that, I don't think nuclear may have no future. The fusion may come. Some of the fusion companies say they will first start generating electricity even 2028, just 5 years from now. Well, I don't think it's possible, but in the middle of 2030s, maybe the first one may come, because venture capitals in the US has a very short-term framework, so they need money return on the investment. So they urge these fusion companies to show that's possible by the middle of 2030. Maybe. If it happens, it's a revolution. So we have to watch carefully of this possible revolution in the future.
Yeah, I like your opinion about right now the nuclear policy, the future nuclear policy, because nuclear, even the SMR or fusion is the future probably, but right. we should wait and see, and maybe not only the situation right now. Right. So the it's a kind of an energy transition. The transition need everybody have the consensus, but right now everybody care right now and not the future. So how to make a longer consensus is very important, especially the energy policy. So probably we can do something about this. And I'm wondering because when you're talking about Japan GX, they have a big assumption, big ambition about this. The first thing is how can the Japan government have 20 trillion yen?
Yeah,
it's a big money. And if I told our Ministry of Finance, Minister, I want to be net zero. I need the funding, or I cannot reach. And they say, Dr. Paul, we do not have any money.
Yeah, same thing in Japan.
Oh, really?
Our finance ministry definitely should have told METI, please give me 20 trillion yen.
Yeah.
METI is wise enough to prepare the future revenue flow.
Oh, okay.
By carbon tax.
Okay.
So this is 20 trillion yen. So we will make a bond which could be repaid in the future by 2050 with this income of the carbon tax. So then Ministry of Finance say, okay, if the future revenue is warranted, maybe you can issue the bond and use it for the transformation. So try to use some kind of linking that just asking doesn't work. Of course, any country in the world is very poor. Unfortunately, fiscal balance is totally horrible. Japan is one of the horrible country with more than 260% of the government bond vis-a-vis GDP. How can we solve? I mean, this is a real headache for government. But you can create, innovate the way to use the future income to the present investment through this GX. That is probably the good model for you in the future.
Yeah, because when I was in European Union, I saw lots of the young company, young generation. They are very ambitious to do things in the future. So I asked them, where is your money come from? Because the government encourage the young generation. You have some innovation about the new technology. We can say it's climate tech. So right now, such is kind of the environment already in European Union. Lots of company, Australia, Japan, even in Korea, and also in US. I saw lots of the young generation do the energy things because the big funding for the future.
Yes.
And so that's very important. So that's why I propose. I hope if I was a minister, I can do it. I can tell all our ministry we can go with the young generation for their future.
That's really important.
Yeah.
But not only Mr. Minister, not Mr. Minister-elect. Not only young people, but also women.
Women.
Women can make a difference. So that's the reason why I make the Canon Institute working group for the advanced reactor system only women, except me. I am foreigner, so all Japanese women experience. So if these women can accept the future vision of the nuclear, maybe Japanese public can say yes. And even I'm saying that if the president of Tokyo Electric Company were a woman in 2011, she could have avoided that stupid accident. And if Tokyo Electric wants to restart the Kashiwazaki Kariwa plant now, make your president woman and bring the headquarters to the plant itself. This is the way to make a difference in the political message. And energy sector is very much delay of actively using women. So relative to other sectors, energy sector is very conservative and not really using the women power. In Japan, I mean, in general, the politics is in the world, we are about 146 or something in the index of the gender balance. So Japan cannot say, so I'm promoting strongly that actively using and making the gender balance right in the energy sector is a way to make this transformation. energy and climate transformation must be led and stimulated by women. Of course, young people, but also women factor may make a difference. So as a minister, please utilize more women in Taiwan to make a difference.
Yeah. When I want to get the invitation from our premier, and I asked my wife,
yes,
and we have a family revolution. Why you to want to lose your privacy, and the job is a very tough job. Why you want to do this? It's a revolution. So the woman in the family and woman in everywhere is very important. So I will keep it in mind, and probably in the future we shall have more dialogue with the woman. Hope the women can work together, especially the net zero plan. So net zero is very difficult. Sometimes I would think it's a mission impossible, but we shall use innovation way to achieve this. It's very important. So I checked some of the questions from the audience, and there were 3 questions, and I think the first one is the energy transition stage. Taiwan and Japan, both okay. Compared to Japan renewable energy policy, what can Taiwan government to gain and learn to have a better policy in helping industry to fight the net zero trend? The industry help the industry, because industry is the key guy. So I think just the GX fund is very important to have the industry. Yeah, and the second one is the energy transition stage. Taiwan and Japan have both energy importers. How to move toward the energy independence? You can answer
this is clear that more indigenous renewables. Quasi-indigenous nuclear should be utilized to be the energy independent. But still, it is impossible that we are getting really independent. So maybe we need the importing clean energy like hydrogen. That is the necessary measures to building the clean hydrogen supply chain is another way to support not energy independence, but energy security.
Okay. Our president elected, he also in his policy also have something about new hydrogen power. So probably in the future we can work with Japan. Do the same thing, because we have the very same ecosystem. And the next question is very interesting, because right now in Taiwan government we promote the solar PV a lot, and there was some area, we are a small island, and in some areas so many solar PV, and lots of people complain about that, even damage the ecosystem, environment. What do you think about this?
Well, I think mega solar farms built in Japan with feed-in tariff very quickly. So Japanese per capita deployment of solar power is very high, even relative to Germany or to US. But so mega solar farms getting less and less places to build, because if you build it in a mountain, etc., they cause the disruption of environment or ecosystem, as Dr. Penn said. So I think Japanese government focus more solar cells to be deployed on the roof of individual houses, as well as commercial institutions, department store, etc., or plants. So I think and perovskite technology helps to make it easier to use it for the rooftop application of solar. Another area which Japan is focusing, and also Taiwan is doing a lot, is offshore wind. Offshore wind is a certain possibility because of the new technology. It's still costly, but I think solar windmills is getting cheaper. So using the offshore wind is another way of increasing the renewable energy use for both countries.
Okay, wonderful. I have a question about climate technology, because the chairman of the Taipei Computer Association, and Peng Shuanglang, and he is also our vice chairman of the Taiwan Climate Partnership, and he is also the the display panel company, AUO. AUO is a very famous, well-known, and also very green solar display panel company. Not right now. This company have a very wonderful transition. They will have some green green company now, so they have some investment. It's very successful transition for some company because they need lots of the electric power, lots of the water, and they know the issue. So they under the table they have in next 5 to 10 years, they step by step to make a transition for this company. It's very well known, very wonderful company in Taiwan. So he mentioned about the climate technology is very important, but everybody know the climate things, but limited about the climate technology. But what I know is in Silicon Valley of the US and the European Union and also in Japan, the climate technology is a very challenging job right now. So is it possible Taiwan, Japan, US, or the other country can make something linkage together in the future? Do you think any kind of the channel we can join, we can do in the future?
What do you mean by climate technology? It's a solar or it's more geoengineering type?
Everything. There was something for the net zero.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the technology which I think we should do more is direct air capture.
Okay.
Direct air capture is the technology to get the carbon dioxide from the air and put it underground and store it or to fix it somehow in cement. If you can do the direct air capture DAC as efficient as possible, and if in ICEF we calculated the feasibility of this DAC, and the cost of DAC is more than $1,000 per ton. But professionals say DAC will be $150 per ton. If that's the case, carbon price can never be over $150 per ton. So if technology like DAC is really achieved in a very cheap way, like $100 per ton, I think you don't need to do more than that. Because if you need to reduce carbon emission, just take it from the air and fix it.
Okay.
So industrial revolution or all other technologies are not really necessary if that happens. So I think if we focus on some climate technology which make a difference is DAC. And why not work together? I mean, there are many ventures on the DAC in Europe, Iceland, US, and also some Japanese companies interested in. So this kind of technology should be shared globally, because if you can capture air anywhere in the world where the cheap renewable is available. Of course, to make this capture, the cost of electricity must be cheap. So you have to build a plant in Australia or Middle East or South of America, but this is the way to make a difference. So I think if we pick up one technology, this is the one.
Okay. There was a question online from George, and he asked about before bringing the shutdown of nuclear power station back to service. You know, lots of people in Taiwan, they claim we should back to service. Does the Japanese government request the power plant to review and also improve the defects inherent in their design as recommended by the NRC bulletins issues earlier?
Yeah, well, I don't know the exact details, but to extend the life or to restart, I mean, to restart the nuclear power, the Japanese Regulatory Commission, Nuclear Safety Agency, given the very set up a very strict standard for restarting. And they claim this is the world #1 strictness of the standard for safety. So all the reactors are requested to satisfy these numbers. these standards. So I'm sure that, but before restarting, these very detailed elements are reflected in the new regulation. I think NRC, communication with NRC and Japanese regulatory commission is always undergoing. So I think if there is new ideas or new elements, I think it should be reflected in it. And also extending the life. This is another issue probably here too, is in that kind of situation, all the necessary, let's say, measures, requirements, and technologies possible should be applied and make extension of the life. So regulators must be flexible and innovative enough to make extension, or there are criticisms that the Commission is too restrictive about restarting in Japan. But they are very cautious, and restarting is happening one by one, and currently 12. I hope it's coming soon to 17, but this is political process, I cannot say, but regulatory, technical, legal process is definitely going before the political decision.
Okay, the next questions I will ask you is from my request. I will want to ask you about the climate governance. Climate governance, because in last 4 years, I worked with the Taiwan Climate Partnership, and there were some very excellent based in Taiwan. They are international ICT company, for example, TSMC, AUO, Delta Electronic. Their leader is very wonderful because we have what I found with them, talk with their CSO, they have very clear roadmap about the net zero, because they should promise, for the company, they should promise, and to the public, to the investor. So what I think is real things. But right now, everybody complain the government, because for the ICT industry, the private sector, they are from the top down and also middle up. I know their cycle, and also they have a carbon pricing system.
Okay.
It's very clear. But right now, when I take the position in the future, I know it's a difficult, because private sector, they have ambitions to do this, clear goal, and we should reach this. But the government, it's not easy to do, because so many ministries. So probably everybody thinks, oh, Dr. Fong, it's your business in your ministry. I have my own. So what's the best way about climate governance for Taiwan?
Thank you for the very interesting.
Because I know you know lots of the leader in the world.
I agree. I mean, climate governance, international governance, as well as domestic governance. This is the issue. Yes, in Japan, we have Ministry of Economy and Industry governing energy sector, industrial sector, competitiveness, and we have Ministry of Environment, which concerned very much about the environmental issues, climate change. So these two ministries always fight each other, and cannot really. I mean,
in Japan, fight each other.
Oh, yeah, they were fighting each other before. Maybe now to some extent. So these two ministries are always creating problem for industry, because two ministries are saying slightly different things. In terms of the standard, environment ministry is more strict, while METI is less. So this difference, and even they have two different public opinion council and discussion. So this creates a huge problem for industry, because industry players participate both of these councils, opinion conferences, but even they are saying their views. But the decision of the two ministries are not necessarily same. So this is a huge problem. I think private sector is always saying, please make these two ministries together and let them decide together. Yes, sometimes. So now the two ministries make this kind of conference together, joint conference with a joint council of climate change mitigation technologies. So this helps to create one voice among ministries. So now it's improved. But eventually, my personal view is that Ministry of Environment and Ministry of not industry or economy as a whole, but at least the energy sector should be combined. Combined together. So in Europe, there are many ministries who covers climate change as well as energy sector, because that is easier to manage and to regulate. So Dr. Penn, you should be the Minister of Energy and Environment. I'm sorry to make your life much more difficult, and maybe condolences for this kind of.
Oh, no.
But without the one minister in charge of climate and energy, how can you make decisions? You have to always go to the prime minister or president to make a decision. It is really cumbersome. So if one minister think about global climate change mitigation lines as well as energy security lines, think well and make a decision which satisfied at most possible in the both ways. Otherwise, the governance may not work so easily. So private sector will complain about that. So this is a great time of change in the governance. So I strongly recommend minister to be the Minister of Energy and Environment.
In Taiwan, just like Japan, we have the same culture. To earn the money, economy is the most important. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I think if you describe about a new ministry of environment and climate or energy, mm-hmm. the minister will be the energy or economy side. So sometimes I will become, you are the agency of mm-hmm. the economy. Mm-hmm. So you just follow the energy. So you are bad enough. Yeah. So I will get the pressure from this.
So now if you get the energy from him to you, and energy and environment, of course you can be an energy minister or environment ministries to move into the economy, but that's too much. I think that's too much. So it covers everything. So maybe environment energy minister should deliver the issue of climate change mitigation, carbon tax, as well as energy security together, and make a kind of reasonable or adaptable portfolio for these issues. So economy as a whole, you have to think about let's say budget or tax system. I mean, this is too much to cover, and this is, and also nuclear is another one. So to cover everything is probably too much of difficult things. But energy and environment is so close. As I said at the beginning, this is an energy crisis, but this is also a climate crisis. So energy crisis and climate crisis must be addressed together to get the proper solution.
Yes.
The Minister of Energy and Climate, Energy and Environment is the person who should lead this transformation.
Yeah. So climate crisis is also energy. Right. Climate transition is energy transition.
Right.
So it's a very visual focus combined together. It's a good idea.
Yes.
Good luck. I will try to talk to my premier about this one. Okay, thank you very much, because time is up, and I know George also have a question about the Fukushima wastewater, but I think you can want to tell us this?
Yeah, well, I think that Fukushima's tritium water discharge is under the strict standard of IAEA. It's going properly, and I don't see any impact, which is they are doing monitoring very cautiously, but I don't see any negative impact of release so far.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Welcome. Today is Earth Day. Thank you joined this Earth Day, and so right now, please share our information to your people, to your friends, and everybody. If we want to do one thing better than before, and it will be better and better. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you next time. 谢谢大家，谢谢 ，Thank you， 谢谢。